Cold night. The night was darker than usual. Clouds covered the sky, hiding the stars and the moon. Cold rain fell on the empty streets, washing the dirt into small streams that ran toward the drains. A homeless man sat under a broken bridge, shivering as the wind pushed against his torn blanket. His name was Daniel, but most people did not know it. To the world, he was invisible, just another face lost in the city. Daniel had nothing, no family, no home, no money. He only had a few pieces of bread that he saved from the garbage of a bakery. His shoes had holes and the rain entered easily, soaking his feet. Still, he tried to sleep, hoping the night would pass quickly. But tonight was different. Something unusual was waiting for him. As Daniel closed his eyes, he heard a strange sound. It was not the sound of rain nor the sound of cars. It was something else, soft, weak, and almost like crying. His body froze. He thought maybe it was an animal, but the sound carried a tone he had never heard before. It felt not human. Curiosity pulled him up. He wrapped his blanket tightly and stepped out into the rain. The sound grew louder as he followed it. He walked past the broken wall of the bridge and into the shadows of an alley. His heart beat faster. His legs trembled, but he kept going. There, near the corner of the alley, he saw something glowing faintly. At first, he thought it was a broken neon light, but then the glow moved. Daniel gasped. Lying on the ground was a figure unlike any he had ever seen. The body was thin but tall, with skin that shimmered in the rain like silver mixed with light. Its chest rose and fell slowly as if it was struggling to breathe. Daniel's first thought was to run. Fear gripped him. What if it was dangerous? What if touching it would kill him? But then he noticed the face. The creature's eyes were half open, glowing softly like blue flames. They were filled with pain, not anger. It was not an enemy. It was suffering. For a moment, Daniel stood frozen. His mind battled between fear and compassion. He himself was hungry, cold, and weak.
He had nothing to give.
Yet he could not walk away. Something deep inside whispered to him, "Help it." He slowly stepped closer, his feet splashing in the puddles. The figure tried to move but groaned in pain. Daniel saw deep cuts on its arms and chest. Strange liquid, glowing faintly, flowed from the wounds. It was not blood like humans had, but it was life spilling away. Daniel bent down and whispered, "Are you alive?" The creature's lips moved and a soft sound escaped. The words were broken, but one word repeated clearly, "Help." Daniel's heart pounded. He pulled the alien gently, lifting the body with all his strength. It was lighter than he expected, yet every step felt heavy in the storm. He carried it back under the bridge, laying it down on the dry corner where he usually slept. He took off his blanket, though it was all he had, and wrapped it around the alien. The creature shivered, its eyes closing and opening slowly. Daniel broke his piece of bread in half and placed it near its mouth, though he doubted it could eat human food. Still, he tried. He even gave it the last bit of water he had in a bottle. The alien swallowed weakly, then whispered something Daniel could not understand. Only one word repeated again, "Det." Daniel frowned. He did not know what it meant, but he felt the weight of the word. Maybe it was a promise. Maybe it was a warning. The rain outside grew heavier. Thunder shook the ground. Daniel looked at the alien, wrapped in his only blanket, and wondered what he had just done. His life was already full of suffering, yet now he had taken in a stranger from the stars. For the first time in years, he felt like someone needed him. That feeling burned stronger than the cold. He leaned against the wall, keeping watch as the alien slept, but he did not know something else. Shadows were moving in the city. Dark figures were searching the streets, looking for the glowing trail of blood the alien had left behind. And soon those figures would be coming closer to the broken bridge where Daniel had made his choice. The cold night was only the beginning. The risk. The night dragged on, and the storm outside showed no mercy. Rain hammered the streets and lightning cut the sky in sharp flashes. Daniel sat close to the strange being, watching its chest rise and fall. The alien's breathing was shallow, and every time it groaned, Daniel's heart tightened. He was a man who had lost everything, yet in that moment he felt like he was guarding the most important life in the world. Daniel's hands shook as he tore strips of cloth from his own shirt. He pressed them against the glowing wounds of the alien. The liquid seeped through quickly, brighter than blood, but slowly the flow weakened. Daniel did not know if he was helping or making things worse, but he refused to stop. The alien opened its eyes again, blue fire shining weakly within. Its lips moved, forming broken words Daniel could not understand. Still, he heard that same strange word again. Det. The sound echoed in his mind. Daniel whispered softly, "Don't worry. You're safe here." But even as he spoke, a shiver ran down his spine. He remembered the glowing trail he had seen in the alley. What if others had followed it? What if this alien was not alone? As if to answer his fear, faint footsteps echoed in the distance. Daniel froze. He leaned forward, holding his breath. The sound grew louder, more than one pair of boots splashing through puddles. His heart pounded. Someone was out there. Someone was looking. He quickly dragged the alien deeper under the bridge behind piles of garbage and broken wood. He covered it with old sacks and his own blanket. "Stay quiet," he whispered, though he knew the creature might not understand. The footsteps stopped just above the bridge. Daniel's body trembled as he pressed himself against the cold wall. He peeked through a crack. His eyes widened. 3 figures stood in the rain, tall and armed. Their armor gleamed faintly under the lightning. They were not soldiers of Earth. Their helmets covered their faces, but their movements were sharp and trained. They carried long weapons glowing at the tips. Daniel's throat went dry. These were not humans. They were hunters. One of them bent down, touching the wet ground. His hand passed over the faint glow of liquid mixed with rainwater. "He was here," the hunter growled in a low, mechanical voice. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. The hunters were following the trail of blood, and it led straight toward him. For a moment, fear screamed inside Daniel's head. "Run! Leave the alien! Save yourself!" But then he turned his head. The alien lay hidden, shivering under the blanket he had given. It had trusted him. It had no strength to fight or flee. Daniel clenched his fists. He had been invisible his whole life, a man no one cared about. But tonight someone needed him. He would not betray that trust. The hunters began walking closer. Daniel quickly grabbed an old metal pipe lying near the garbage. It was rusty, heavy and weak compared to their weapons, but it was all he had. He stepped into the shadows and waited. The first hunter came down under the bridge, scanning with a glowing device. Daniel's grip tightened. His breath was loud in his ears. The hunter turned, the blue light of his visor passing close. Daniel held himself still, praying the alien would not make a sound, but the alien groaned softly under the sacks. The sound was faint, yet sharp enough for the hunter's ears. The armored figure turned instantly toward the noise. He raised his weapon, moving forward. Daniel's blood turned cold. He had seconds to act. With a desperate cry, Daniel leapt from the shadows and swung the pipe with all his strength. The iron cracked against the hunter's helmet, sending sparks flying. The figure stumbled back, shocked by the sudden attack. "Go!" Daniel shouted, though the alien could barely move. The other hunters rushed down, weapons glowing brighter. Daniel stood between them and the creature, his chest rising with courage he had never known before. He was outnumbered, unarmed and hopeless, but he refused to move aside. The first hunter recovered and growled, "Pathetic human. Step away or die." Daniel spat rain from his mouth and lifted the pipe again. "You'll have to kill me first." For the first time in his life, Daniel did not care about death. He had nothing to lose, except the promise he had made when he chose to help. The hunters raised their weapons, ready to strike. Sparks of energy lit the bridge, casting eerie shadows around them. The alien's weak voice whispered one more time from behind Daniel. "Friend." The word gave him strength. Daniel braced himself, knowing the risk he had taken might end his life. But inside his heart, a fire burned brighter than the storm outside. The risk was no longer about survival. It was about doing what was right, and the night was about to change forever. The pursuers, the hunters moved fast, their glowing weapons slicing the dark with cold light. Daniel's chest heaved as he gripped the rusted pipe, sweat and rain mixing on his face. The storm outside masked some sounds, but down here under the bridge, every breath, every movement felt dangerously loud. One hunter stepped forward, scanning the piles of garbage. Another circled around, searching for movement. The leader stood in the center, his visor glowing red, voice deep and sharp. "He is close. The trail ends here." Daniel swallowed hard. His legs shook, but he forced himself to stand tall. Behind him, under the sacks, the alien stirred weakly, whispering in its strange voice. Daniel wanted to look back, to check if it was safe, but he dared not break eye contact with the hunters. The leader pointed his weapon directly at Daniel. You carry something that does not belong to you. Step aside. Daniel tightened his grip on the pipe. He's not yours. Leave him. The hunters paused, surprised at the defiance. Then the leader chuckled, a low mechanical laugh. A homeless human protecting a royal fugitive? How amusing. Do you even know what you're doing? Daniel didn't answer. He couldn't. He barely understood what was happening. He only knew one thing. He could not let them take the alien. The second hunter moved quickly, lunging toward the sacks. Daniel swung the pipe with desperate strength, striking the hunter's arm. The weapon sparked, clattering to the ground. The hunter growled, shoving Daniel back with brute force. Daniel crashed against the wall, pain shooting through his ribs. For a moment, darkness swirled in his vision. He coughed, tasting blood, but then he heard it again. The alien's weak voice whispering, "Friend." That one word pulled him back from the edge. Daniel forced himself up, even as his body screamed in pain. He grabbed the fallen weapon, though it was heavier than anything he had ever held. The glowing barrel hummed with strange power. He pointed it forward with trembling hands. The hunters froze for a second. The leader tilted his head. You have no idea how to use that. Daniel's voice cracked, but he forced strength into it. Maybe not, but I'll try if I have to. Lightning flashed outside, casting long shadows. The rain poured harder, drumming against the broken bridge. The hunters studied him for a moment, then slowly lowered their weapons. The leader spoke again, his tone almost amused. Human, you cannot protect him forever. He is marked. Others are coming. You will both die. With that, the hunters backed away into the storm, disappearing into the sheets of rain. Their glowing armor faded into the night until nothing was left but the sound of thunder. Daniel collapsed to his knees, the weapon still clutched in his shaking hands. His body ached, but his spirit burned stronger than ever. He turned toward the alien, pulling away the sacks. Its glowing eyes blinked slowly, focusing on him. You, safe now, Daniel whispered. For a little while, the alien struggled to sit up, its body trembling. It pointed a weak finger at the glowing weapon in Daniel's hands. Then with broken words, it said, Danger. More coming, Daniel frowned. His mind raced. If those hunters were only the beginning, what else was out there? And why were they chasing this being? The alien coughed, then whispered again. This time, Daniel could almost understand. They want fortune. Killed me, fortune? Daniel blinked. He thought of the word debt the alien had repeated earlier. What did it mean? He wanted to ask more, but the alien's head dropped forward. It was slipping into unconsciousness again. Daniel quickly pulled the blanket tighter around it. His mind churned with fear and questions. Fortune, debt, hunters. What had he gotten himself into? Then he noticed something strange. The alien's wounds, though deep, were slowly closing. The glowing liquid hardened, sealing the cuts. The healing was not human. It was something far beyond Earth science. Daniel touched his own arm where a sharp cut from the pipe had bled earlier. To his shock, the wound was gone. Only a faint scar remained. The alien's presence was healing him. A mix of awe and fear filled Daniel's heart. This being was more than just a stranger. It carried something powerful, something others would kill for. He looked out into the rain-soaked streets. The hunters were gone for now, but he knew they would return, and next time they might bring more. Daniel clenched his fists. His life had always been worthless in the eyes of the world. But tonight he was standing between a hunted alien and death itself. He had taken the risk, and now he was part of something far bigger than himself. As the thunder roared above, Daniel whispered to himself, I won't let them take you. Not while I'm alive. In the distance, faint red lights glowed in the fog, signals of more pursuers closing in. The night was far from over, and Daniel's fight had only just begun. The escape. The storm had not stopped. Rain kept pouring, washing the streets of the city. Under the broken bridge, Daniel sat close to the alien, watching the faint rise and fall of its chest. The hunters were gone for now, but Daniel's heart told him they would return, and next time they wouldn't leave without blood. He looked at the strange weapon still clutched in his hands. Its glow was faint, but it hummed with silent power. Daniel had never held anything so deadly, yet he felt small against the storm that was coming. He was only one man, weak and tired, with nothing but courage to carry him forward. The alien stirred, opening its glowing eyes again. Its voice was weak, broken, but clearer than before. They come. More. Daniel leaned close. Then we can't stay here. We have to move. The alien blinked slowly as if agreeing. It tried to rise, but its body trembled and it collapsed back onto the blanket. Daniel placed a hand on its shoulder. Don't worry. I'll carry you. With effort, Daniel lifted the alien once more, its light body surprising him. He wrapped the blanket around it, shielding its glowing wounds from sight. Then he stepped out into the rain. The night streets were empty, washed clean by the storm. Daniel kept to the shadows, moving carefully. His feet splashed in the puddles and every sound felt too loud. He knew the hunters might be close, watching, listening. They passed through alleys filled with broken trash, old posters peeling from the walls. Daniel's mind raced. Where can we go? Where is safe? The truth was simple, nowhere. Not in this city, but still he had to try. As they reached an old subway tunnel, Daniel ducked inside. The air was damp, heavy with the smell of rust and mold. Broken lights flickered faintly and rats scurried into the dark. It was not a place for comfort, but it was shelter. Daniel laid the alien against the wall and sat beside it, chest heaving from the weight. We'll rest here for a while, he whispered. Just a while. The alien's eyes opened halfway. Its glowing hand reached toward Daniel's arm. Where its fingers touched, warmth spread through him. The pain in his ribs lessened, his strength returning bit by bit. Daniel's breath caught. You're healing me? The alien gave a weak nod. Then in broken words it said, friend. Brave, heart-strong. Daniel swallowed hard. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not since he was a child. The words filled a hole he had carried for years, but before the moment could last, a sharp sound echoed through the tunnel. A metallic click, click, click. Daniel's blood ran cold. Footsteps. Not human ones. Too heavy, too steady. He quickly pulled the alien closer, hiding it behind broken crates. He gripped the glowing weapon, aiming it toward the sound. His hands trembled, but his eyes were sharp. The footsteps grew louder. Shadows stretched along the tunnel walls. Then from the darkness, red lights appeared, 3, then 4, glowing like eyes. Hunters. Daniel's breath hitched. They were faster than he thought. He whispered to the alien, stay quiet. No matter what happens. The hunters entered, scanning the tunnel with their glowing visors. Their voices were sharp, mechanical. The trail continues here, find him. Kill the human if necessary. Daniel tightened his grip on the weapon. His pulse thundered in his ears. He had never fired a gun, let alone something not of this world, but he had no choice. One hunter drew closer, weapon raised. The red glow washed over Daniel's hiding place. He pressed the trigger. A burst of light exploded from the weapon, louder and brighter than thunder. The beam struck the hunter, throwing it against the wall. Sparks erupted, armor shattered. The body fell still. The other hunters roared in rage, weapons blazing. Energy bolts tore through the tunnel, shaking the ground. Daniel ducked, pulling the alien lower, shielding it with his body. He fired again, the beam blasting another hunter off its feet. The weapon was heavy, but something inside it seemed to respond to his fear. His will. The alien whispered from behind him, run, not fight. Daniel's eyes widened. Run, but where? Then he saw it, a service door at the far end of the tunnel. If they could reach it, maybe they could escape into the deeper underground. Daniel took a deep breath. Hold on. He lifted the alien once more, clutching the weapon in his other hand. Energy bolts flew past, searing the walls. Daniel ran, his legs burning with every step. The alien's weight pulled him down, but he refused to stop. The hunters shouted, chasing after them. One bolt struck the ground near his feet, sending sparks and smoke into the air. Daniel stumbled but pushed forward. At last he slammed his shoulder against the rusted door. It groaned, then burst open, revealing a staircase descending into blackness. Without a second thought, Daniel rushed inside and pulled the door shut behind them. Darkness swallowed them. Only the faint glow of the alien's body lit the stairs. Daniel leaned against the wall, panting, his chest on fire. The alien touched his shoulder again, whispering softly. Safe, for now. Daniel nodded, though his heart knew the truth. The hunters would not stop. They would chase them into the deepest shadows of the city. But Daniel also knew something else. He was no longer running only for survival. He was running for something bigger, something that could change his life, and maybe the fate of more than just himself. As the alien leaned against him, whispering strange words he could not understand, Daniel whispered back, I'll get you out of here. Whatever it takes. In the silence of the underground far above, the hunters spread through the city, searching. Their red lights cut through the storm, chasing the glow of fortune they were sworn to capture. And the escape had only just begun. The revelation, the underground air was heavy, filled with the smell of rust and damp stone. Daniel leaned against the cold wall, chest rising and falling like he had run for hours. His body ached, his legs shook, but his hands refused to let go of the alien. The glowing being rested weakly against him, its eyes half closed, breath slow but steady. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the faint drip of water echoing from somewhere deep in the tunnels. Daniel finally whispered, "We can't keep running like this. They won't stop until they catch you." The alien's glowing eyes opened slightly, fixing on him. Its voice came weak but clearer than before. "Friend, it must know truth," Daniel frowned. "Truth?" The alien nodded slowly, forcing words through its trembling lips. "Not soldier, not warrior, heir." Daniel blinked in shock. "Heir to what?" The alien coughed softly, a sound that shimmered almost like music. Then it whispered, "To fortune, to world's, to legacy." Daniel's mind reeled. "World's legacy? Fortune?" None of this made sense. "You mean you're some kind of prince?" The alien closed its eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Yes, hunters. Sent to erase me if I die. Wealth, empire. Taken if I live. Shared." The words hit Daniel like thunder. He stared, stunned. This fragile, glowing being was not just a stranger from the stars. He was royalty. And not just any royalty. His fortune stretched across galaxies. Daniel's voice cracked. "But why share with me? I'm nothing. Just a man with no home, no life." The alien reached out its glowing hand and placed it on Daniel's chest. The warmth spread through him again, soft and powerful. "Because you gave when you had nothing, that makes you worthy." Daniel swallowed hard. His eyes burned with emotions he could not explain. All his life, people had ignored him, stepped past him, treated him like he was less than human. And now, here in the depths of the earth, a being from another world looked at him with respect. But even as warmth filled his heart, fear tightened his chest. He whispered, "If you're a prince, then they won't stop. They'll send more, stronger ones." The alien nodded slowly. "Yes, but I am not without defense." Hidden inside. Code? Daniel asked, confused. The alien closed its eyes and suddenly its body glowed brighter. Strange symbols lit up along its arms and chest. Patterns of light that seemed alive. Daniel gasped, shielding his eyes. The glow spread into the air, forming shapes almost like holograms. Maps, stars, cities across unknown worlds. Daniel's mouth fell open. What is this?" The alien's voice echoed stronger now, carried by the light. "It is my inheritance. Fortune of 1,000 worlds locked. Until chosen one protects me, you are now part of it." Daniel staggered back, shaking his head. No, this can't be real. I'm not a hero. I'm not special." But the alien's eyes burned with certainty. "You are special. Not because of wealth, not because of power, but because you risked your life when you had nothing to gain. That is true worth." The holographic light faded, sinking back into the alien's body. Daniel stood in silence, trembling. His mind screamed in disbelief, but his heart believed. Suddenly, a distant echo shook the tunnel. Metallic clanks, heavy footsteps, and voices speaking in harsh tones. The hunters were back, and this time there were more. Daniel's breath quickened. "We have to move again." But before he could lift the alien, the glowing hand pressed against his arm. "No, not just run. Must decide, stay, or fight." Daniel stared at the alien's glowing eyes. For years he had lived without purpose, without meaning. Now, in one night, he was faced with a choice greater than any man could imagine. Protect an alien prince and inherit a fortune beyond human understanding. Or give up and go back to the shadows of the city. His jaw tightened. "I've already decided. I'm not leaving you. Not now, not ever." The alien's eyes softened, glowing brighter. Then, "Future is ours." The sound of the hunters grew louder, closer, echoing like thunder through the underground. Daniel gripped the alien's strange weapon tighter, his heart pounding with both fear and determination. For the first time in his life, he felt alive. For the first time, his choices mattered, and as the hunters closed in, Daniel whispered, "If it's a fight they want, then it's a fight they'll get." The alien closed its eyes and whispered back, "Friend." Together, the revelation had been made. Daniel was no longer just a homeless man. He was now the guardian of a prince, protector of a legacy, and bearer of a destiny greater than the stars themselves. The test of loyalty. The underground shook as if the earth itself was warning them. The echo of heavy boots filled the tunnels, growing louder with each passing second. Red lights flashed against the damp walls, cutting through the darkness. Daniel tightened his grip on the alien weapon, his palms slick with sweat. Beside him, the alien prince leaned weakly against the wall. Though his body trembled, his glowing eyes were calm. "They come. Final strike," he whispered. Daniel swallowed hard. He could already feel fear gnawing at his stomach. Final strike? That meant the hunters would not retreat this time. They would fight until one side was destroyed. He turned to the alien, whispering fiercely, "You said I must decide. I already did. I'm not leaving you." The alien's faint smile glimmered like starlight. Loyal, heartstrong, but loyalty has price, Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" The alien's voice dropped lower, almost breaking. "If you fight, you may die. If you flee, you live but lose everything. This is test. Your choice." Daniel's chest tightened. He thought of his life before this night. Cold streets, empty stomach, no one to remember his name. He had survived, but survival alone had never given him meaning. For the first time, he understood. Sometimes life was more than just living. It was about protecting something greater than yourself. He straightened his back, his voice steady. "If loyalty has a price, then I'll pay it. I'm not walking away." The alien's eyes burned brighter. Then, "We fight!" The hunters' voices rang out through the tunnel. "Surrender the fugitive. Human, step aside and your death will be quick." Daniel stepped forward, weapon raised. His voice echoed against the stone. "You'll have to go through me first." The hunters laughed, their mechanical voices sharp with cruelty. A broken man against an army? Foolish. But Daniel didn't waver. His hands trembled, his legs shook, but his eyes blazed with determination. The first blast came, a bolt of energy tearing through the tunnel. Daniel dove aside, the heat searing past his face. He rolled to his feet and fired back. A beam of light exploded from his weapon, striking one hunter square in the chest. The figure fell with a crash of sparks. The others roared and rushed forward, their red lights blazing. Daniel fought desperately, firing wildly, his body moving with a speed born from sheer survival. Every blast lit the tunnel like lightning, the walls shaking under the force. But there were too many. A hunter swung its glowing blade, striking Daniel's arm. Pain ripped through him, and the weapon nearly fell from his grasp. He cried out but refused to let go. Behind him, the alien weakly raised his hand. A glow spread outward, surrounding Daniel's wound. The pain dulled, the bleeding slowed. Daniel gasped, strength surging back into his body. The alien whispered, "Loyalty gives power," Daniel roared, firing again. Another hunter fell, its armor smoking. But still more came. Sparks rained from the ceiling as energy bolts tore through the air. Daniel's chest heaved, exhaustion clawing at him. Then the leader stepped forward, the same hunter who had mocked him under the bridge. His visor glowed brighter, his weapon humming with deadly power. "Enough of this game. Human, you are nothing. Loyalty to him will destroy you." Daniel's voice cracked, but he shouted back, "You're wrong. Loyalty is the only thing that makes me something." The leader raised his weapon to strike. Daniel's body screamed in fear, but he stood his ground. He aimed his weapon, ready to fire one last time, even if it cost him his life. Before the attack landed, the alien prince stepped forward. His body glowed brighter than ever, light spilling from his wounds. He raised his hand, and a wave of energy blasted outward, shaking the tunnel. The hunters staggered, thrown back by the force. The leader snarled, "Impossible. He's too weak." But the alien's voice thundered through the tunnel, stronger than before. "He is my protector. His loyalty is my strength. Together, we will not fall." The glow surrounded Daniel too, filling his body with warmth and fire. His pain vanished, his fear melted away. For the first time, he felt like more than a man. He felt unstoppable. With a cry, Daniel charged forward, firing blast after blast. The hunters fell one by one, their weapons clattering against the ground. The leader fought back fiercely, but Daniel moved with unshakable will. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying as tunnel walls cracked under the force. Finally, with one last strike, Daniel's beam cut through the leader's chest. The hunter staggered, sparks bursting from his armor. His voice broke into static. "This not... and... Then he collapsed, lifeless. Silence filled the tunnel. Smoke and sparks hung in the air. Daniel's chest heaved, his arms heavy, but his eyes were alight with victory. He turned to the alien who stood glowing softly, smiling faintly despite his weakness. Loyalty, the alien whispered, is the strongest weapon. Daniel dropped to his knees, exhausted, but he managed a tired smile. Then I'll never put it down. In that moment he knew. This test of loyalty had changed him forever. He was no longer just a homeless man. He was a protector, a fighter, and perhaps even a hero. And the final chapter of their journey was waiting just beyond the shadows. The incredible reward. The tunnel lay silent after the battle. Smoke drifted from the broken weapons and the red glow of the fallen hunters faded into darkness. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. His arms ached, his body was cut and bruised, but his spirit burned with strength he had never known before. Beside him, the alien prince stood weak but alive, his glowing body dimming softly. His eyes turned toward Daniel full of gratitude. You stayed? You fought. Loyalty. True. Daniel managed a tired smile. I told you I wouldn't leave. For a moment there was peace. Only the sound of dripping water filled the silence. Then the alien raised his glowing hand, placing it gently on Daniel's shoulder. Warmth spread through him, washing away the pain. His cuts closed, his bruises vanished, and even his exhaustion faded. Daniel gasped softly. What are you doing? The alien's voice was steady now, strong despite his fragile body. Reward, promise kept. You gave all when you had nothing. Now, you gain all. Before Daniel could ask, the alien's body glowed brighter, filling the tunnel with golden light. Strange symbols circled in the air, floating around Daniel like stars. The light entered his chest, his mind, his very soul. Suddenly, visions flooded his eyes. Vast cities shining with crystal towers, fleets of ships crossing galaxies, treasures stored in vaults larger than mountains. He saw worlds filled with life, people bowing before the crest of a royal house. And then he saw himself, standing among them, no longer homeless, no longer forgotten, but recognized as a guardian and protector of a galactic legacy. Daniel staggered back, overwhelmed. This can't be real. The alien's eyes burned brighter. It is real. Fortune, power, worlds, all bound to you now. You saved me, my debt is yours forever. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. All his life he had been invisible. People had walked past him, laughed at him, thrown him scraps. And now a prince of another world had given him more than he could ever dream. But it was not the gold, the ships, or the cities that touched Daniel's heart. It was the simple truth: someone saw him. Someone valued him. Someone believed he was worthy. The alien whispered again, You are not homeless anymore. You have a place, a family, a name that will echo in the stars. Daniel dropped to his knees, hands covering his face as emotion shook his body. For the first time in years he cried, not from hunger or pain, but from hope. The alien gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Come, it is time. From above, a deep rumble shook the ground. Daniel looked up. Through the cracks in the tunnel ceiling, he saw lights descending, bright silver beams cutting through the storm. A massive ship hovered above the city, its size larger than any building. It shone like a star fallen to earth. Daniel's mouth fell open. That's for you? The alien nodded. For us. The ship's doors opened and a beam of light pierced into the tunnel. Daniel shielded his eyes as the brilliance surrounded them. Slowly, their bodies lifted off the ground, rising toward the surface. The storm raged around them, lightning flashing, but the beam carried them safely upward. When they stepped onto the ship, Daniel's breath caught. The halls were made of shining crystal and metal that pulsed with soft blue light. Figures bowed as they entered, alien guards and attendants kneeling before the prince. One of them spoke, voice full of respect. Your Highness, you have returned. The alien nodded weakly, then turned to Daniel. And this is my protector. He saved me. Treat him as you would treat me. The guards bowed to Daniel, their glowing eyes lowered in respect. Daniel's heart pounded. He had never been bowed to in his life. The alien prince led him through the shining halls to a great chamber filled with stars projected on the walls. A throne of silver stood in the center, glowing faintly. The alien sat upon it, then raised his hand toward Daniel. You are no longer a man forgotten. You are guardian of my house, inheritor of my wealth, and brother to my people. From this day forward, your name will be remembered." Daniel's voice shook. I don't know what to say." The alien smiled faintly. "Say nothing. You already proved everything with your heart." And in that moment, Daniel understood. The real reward was not just fortune or power. It was dignity, respect, and belonging. He had gone from a man who had nothing to a man who was everything, not because of riches, but because he chose compassion when it mattered most. As the ship rose higher into the storm, leaving the city below, Daniel looked out the window. The world that had once rejected him now seemed small, distant. Ahead lay stars, worlds, and a destiny he had never imagined. For the first time in his life, he whispered with pride, "I have a home." The alien prince placed a glowing hand on his shoulder. "No, my friend. You have more than that. You have a universe." And so the homeless man who had once slept under a broken bridge stepped into the future as a hero, protector, and legend. His story was no longer hidden in the dark. It was written among the stars.